All right, write the question down on the board. This is homework question. Oh, I don't forgot what it was, but number 9 online, I think. Now there's several things you can do when you're doing one of these problems. One is you can find the midpoints. Midpoints are equal to, parentheses, the lower class limit plus the upper class limit divided by 2. Now you're going to see this formula again when we're doing averages, so go ahead and write that down. Lower class limit, A plus B divided by 2. Now what this is, a midpoint is a number used for calculation. So you can't use 6 and 13 in a calculator. What are you going to put? 6 or 13? You can't use both of them. So what you do is you find the midpoint, and you use the midpoint as a number that you can calculate for 6 and 13. So a midpoint, if you want to know what a midpoint is, it's a number that you can calculate. Relative frequency. Well, something else is going to ask. It's going to ask for the total. How many people make up the class? Well, what do? You add up all of the head count. And that's your total. So it's going to ask, they may ask for the total. They may ask for the midpoint. They may just ask for one midpoint. Relative frequency. If they ask for a relative frequency, Just remember, relative frequency is a 25-cent word for fraction or percent. So 6 divided by what? How many's in the group? 33. So that's the relative frequency. Oops, sorry. Got to lock that one. So if you wanted to change those to percents, all you do is hit the percent buttons up here somewhere. So the book may want a decimal, or it may want a percent, whichever one you want to, whichever one it asks for, that's what you give them. The modal frequency is the frequency that has the most. Well, it looks like there's two, 30 and 46, or whatever, 30 to 37 and 46 to 53. So you would put 30 to 37 and 46 to 53. It can be. Usually it's going to be 1, but sometimes you can have 2. What's the class width? Well, the class width is going to be equal to 1 class limit minus what? The previous class limit. That's class width. These are all things that they may ask for. What else did they ask for in that question? Okay. So make sure you can find those things. The total, the midpoints, the relative frequency, which you've got to have the total, and modal frequency, or the modal class. You might want to call that class, not frequency. Modal class, or class what? Our class is, and the class width. Trying to think if there's anything else. Can't think of anything. Let's see what it asked for. It asked for the class width, the total, the midpoint of the second class, and the modal classes. Class limits of the next class, if an additional class were added, would be 46 plus 8 is what? 54? And what's 53 plus 8? 61? Look at there. I feel good about myself. It's the lower class limit plus the upper class limit divided by 2. And what I do, I just tell students, just do all of them. Well, if you do the spreadsheet, just do all of them, and that way you'll, whatever it asks you, it'll find. And the way I got that last limit right there is I took 46 and added what? The width. And I took 53 and added the width. And they may ask you for that, so you might want to mark that. Okay? So right now, you should have all the definitions that we went over, and you should know all about a frequency distribution now. Because I just covered the first 2 or 3 sections of, all we got to do now is go over the last section today. And the last section will be easy to you. Why is that? Because you've done it since you were able to do it. in the third, fourth, fifth grade. That's if you're given, let's go with 6 tests or 7 tests. Let's go with a 95. Let's go with a 86 and a, well, I got to put them, yeah, 86, 92, 77, 88, 96, 79, and 82. All right, let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So N is equal to 8. There's 8 test grades. Remember, N is always how many makes up the group. So in here, N is equal to 6. If the classroom is full, N would be equal to 30. It's always the total. Now, the first thing they're going to ask you with these problems is what? X bar, which is also called the mean, which is also called the what? The average. All 3 of those are going to be equal to, sorry, I can't put the equal sign because it'll want, is equal to the summation of all these numbers divided by what? See, y'all know how to do it. There's your average. Don't forget to put these in order. Forgot to do that, which it doesn't matter about the average because you're adding them together, so it really doesn't matter. But on the other stuff, it does. Like I said, y'all already know it, so that's why it's going to be easy. I'm moving it, so just hold on. There. Probability, and then we're done. That's 103.
Oh, okay.
All right, mean, median. Now, when y'all think of median, what do y'all think of? Middle of the road. So the median is going to be the middle of what? The middle of the numbers. Now, you need to make a note. And I can't make it up here. I'll just put it over here. If N is equal to an even number, like this one, 8, you have to take the average of two middle numbers. If N is odd, just find the middle number. So the median is going to be equal to, in this case, this number plus this number divided by what? 2. And if you'll look, what is the middle between 87 and 88? I mean 86 and 87. Between 86 and 88. Dude, huh? Mode. Remember mode? The first two letters of mode is what? MO. First two letters of most is MO. Which number shows up the most? In this case, there is none. So you put nairn. Do not put 0. Why? Because some smart aleck teacher will mark it wrong and put, there's no 0 in the list. What? What have you put what? I don't, you could put does not exist, non-existent, what? Yeah, you could put anything that means nothing, but do not put 0. Yeah, because some teacher, see, what are these? These are numbers. If 86 showed up twice, you would put 86 because it shows up the most. But if you put 0, what is 0? It's a number. And that teacher is going to say, well, there's no zeros in the list. Even though you meant nothing. I'm just telling you, don't put 0. Unless it shows up 3 or 4 times. The mean, median, mode, range, mid-range. And luckily, y'all don't have to find, oh, you do have to find the standard deviation. Variance and standard deviation. We're combining 2 sections. We're combining 12.3 and 12.4 today. All right, the range. Highest minus the what? Lowest. Oh, I've had 9 piglets. One of my pigs had 9 piglets today. No. Huh? I don't sell to the public. Sorry. You know why I don't sell to the public? Because the public does what? Bitches too much. That's why I don't sell anything to the public. My phone, I left my phone in my office. I could hear it from here because of my phone. Couldn't find it. I was like, where is it? But anyway, my mama called me. She went to check pigs this morning. She said that we had 9. I'll take a picture of it for you. All right, highest is what? 96 minus what? 77. Now some of these, if you miss, you do not what? Tell anyone. No. I'm a cat person, so I probably would like a rabbit. So. Yeah. Yeah, they're pretty sweet. Uh-oh. Now, right out here, the mid-range is just like the same formula for the midpoint. Okay, except this one is the highest plus the lowest divided by what? 2. Remember, the midpoint is your lowest class limit plus your highest class limit divided by 2. Well, this one is your highest plus the lowest divided by 2. So that's going to be equal to, parentheses, 96 plus what? 77 divided by 2. Think of the midpoint, think of the mid-range as the number, you know, when you draw a number line and you put -5 on one end and you put 5 on the other and you put 0 in the middle. Well, 0 is like the mid-range. It's the middle between the 5 and the -5. 87.5, or whatever it was, 86.5 is the number. If you put 96 on the end of the number line and you put 77 on the other end, 86.5 would be right in the middle where that 0 would be. Median, well, that's what I'm fixing to say. If the median and the mean and the average are close together, then that means your data, your numbers are valid. If they're not, then you've got a number in there that's throwing off everything. For instance, if I have a classroom, my math 120 or math, usually my math 120 class in the mornings during the fall and spring is dual enrollment students. Okay, what's the average age of those dual enrollment students? 17, pretty much, or 18. It's around 17.5. If I walked in there and I was a student, what would that do to the average? It would throw it off because I'm 50. You see what I'm saying? All right. If it's all high school students, then the mean, the median, and the mid-range, the median, range, and average are all going to be close to 17 or 18. But if I walk into that class as a student, then those three numbers are not going to be close because the 50 is going to mess up everything. Okay? So when you get and I'll color these, when you get one, you get a median and an average and a mid-range that are all close together, that means your data is what? Valid. It's pretty tight. That means that everybody in the classroom or everybody in the field or your grades are lining up what? Pretty good. Now what if you had, let's say you come in not prepared for a test and you made a 17 for your test. What did that just do to the mid-range and the median? See what it did to the average and the mid-range? Now it's totally different. So I like to tell students that you need to treat the mid-range, if you wanted to plot these points on a number line, the mid-range would be on the number line. It wouldn't be a location point. It would be on the number line with 77 and 96. Okay? All right. Variance. Now I'm going to write the formula for variance on the board. Now the reason I want to write it on the board is because I want you to look at it and I want you to read it. Okay? I don't want you to I don't know how to do that. I don't want you to do that because that's usually what people do and that irritates me, so don't do that. Okay? I'm teaching 120, I get that all the time and I just get tired of hearing it. All right, where was I? Oh, spreadsheet. There we go. And where is my... Why ain't it coming up? It's not supposed to do that. No, I'm trying to find my transparency. It's not working. My marker's not working. Huh. Let's see if the marker works. Nope. That worked. Let me go and start it again. I don't know why it's doing what it's doing. See, I don't even have a, I don't have a menu, I don't have anything. There it is. That's why it was on whiteboard. There. Now we're cooking with peanut oil. All right. The definition for the variance. I'm going to put it over here. Variance is equal to the summation of x minus x bar divided by n minus 1. Oh, sorry, let that one down. Square. That's the summation. It means you add it all up. Just wait till I do it, and then you'll understand it. Summation. That's what that means. Summation. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, what's what? Well, what did I call the average up here a while ago? X bar. That's X bar. So that's the average. N. You know what N is? What is N? 8. So you can go ahead and plug that in. But you don't need to. I'm just showing you. You don't. Okay? You got the average, but you can't do the top yet because you got to do the top over here. This X right here is each one of those numbers, each one of your test grades. So good gracious, there's a lot. Yeah, we got to do each one. What do we got to do with each one of those X's? Subtract what? The what? The average. We got to subtract the average. So if you wanted to write this in layman's terms, you got to add up all of the test grades minus the average. I got to subtract the average from every one of my test grades and then square them and add them all up. And then I got to divide by 8 minus 1. And that's equal to my variance. So you need to call this column X and call this column X minus 1. I'm sorry, X minus X bar. So what are you going to do with the first column, the first one here? What's X? 77. What's the mean? 86.88. So you're going to, everybody right now, write in your notes, 77 minus 86.88. You do it in your calculator. And do them all the way down. Some of them are going to be negative, some of them are going to be positive. And I'll do it, and you can check your answers with the spreadsheet. You do every one of them in your notes, so you can, and you need to write a note on what you're doing in this column, so you don't forget. Because your test will have a few of these on there. And we're also doing the first unit in probability Math 120 and Math 103. So if you ever want to take them, this is the first unit, what we're doing right now. Make sure you get those numbers.
Test grades minus what?
Test grade minus the average. It's supposed to be AVE, sorry. I suck. There. Actually, I've been thinking about selling my pigs. I've been thinking about it. Because I got a friend of mine that has a meat market up on the north side of town. He's a doctor. And instead of fooling with a lot of his baby pigs, he just, when he weans them at like 6 weeks, he just puts them on Craigslist and sells them for $75 a pop. I'm like, hey, good. But I'm a little bit scared because what will happen, I'm not saying you would, but what would happen if you take the pig home and it dies in a week? No, you're gonna come on a refund. Or some of these people, that's why I don't deal with the public. Huh? I don't do good with the public unless it's in this classroom. That's about it. And I have control over this classroom. Get those numbers? Well, make sure you get every one of them. That way you'll have it in your notes. $88 minus 86.88. Yeah, you have to put them in order before you start periods. Okay, well, if you haven't put them in order, just write down the first one of the middle ones, and the last one so you'll know what you're doing. Okay? But you've got to put them in order. Make sure you write a note. Put them in order because you never will get the right answer if you don't put them in order of these things that we're doing. Okay? Now, what does the formula say we do after we subtract the mean from the x, each x? What do we do to it? No, before that. Up there in the top right-hand corner. Top right-hand corner. Square it. So I'm going to call this column, parentheses, x minus x bar, quantity squared. And what am I going to do with each one of these numbers right here? You're going to square them. So do that in your notes. Put a note saying what you did. So that's going to be equal to this number raised to the second power. And check your numbers with mine. And what does this guy mean? sum it all up. So I'm going to take my handy dandy summation key and I'm going to add all those numbers up. And you do it too so you can check it. Well, as soon as I get the right. Okay. Now somebody tell me what 360.9 is. Not the variance, but what is it? And what's that called in a fraction? The numerator. Remember, D is below D. That's all right. That's been a long time since you had that. First unit, right? 360.9, you just found the numerator, over 7. Take my handy highlighter and highlight this. Kind of that purplish color, blue is supposed to be blue. But that's what you just found, that numerator right there. When you took the summation, you found that. All these colors, the things I do for y'all. Well, we're fixing to do it right now. So our variance is equal to 360.9 divided by n minus 1, which is 7. And that should be what y'all got for your variance. Now you're going to love standard deviation. It's so complicated, you're probably not going to be able to figure it out. Probably won't even try. The standard deviation is equal to the square root of the what? Variance. Oh, you're wrong. Well, I'll try it again. Maybe I didn't do it right. I was just kidding. No, I was just kidding. I don't know. I'll check it. Oh, you did? Now, what was I doing? Oh, the variance. Now, another way you can take the square root on your calculator is raise the variance to the 0.5 power. That's the easier way to do it. 0.5, meaning a half. So that's the easy way to do it. If you don't want to do it, that's fine. I don't care. Right now I'm trying just to get back in. Oh Lord, it's switching back and forth. The directions will tell you. The directions will tell you what to round it to. And I'm going to raise it to the 0.5 power, to the 1/2 power. And that's your standard deviation. Now, I'm going to tell you what these things are. As soon as y'all get through writing, I'm going to show you and tell you what all these things are. Because I think it's important. I ask people what the average is when they're coming out of high school and they tell me, it's numbers divided by the total, or numbers divided by the whatever. The total, but they don't tell me what it is. What is it? And not many people know what the variance is. I meant the average. They always tell me the numerical definition or the mathematical definition. So I think it's important for you to know what it actually is. So y'all get through writing and we'll do it. We're going to do another example in a minute. We're going to make n is equal to 9 or 11 or something like that. We do an odd one. Has everybody got it? Okay. Now let's say we've got a chart right here. Y'all have all seen a bar chart before. And let's say we've got a line there, a line there, yes, bar graph, or they call it a histogram if they're touching, or they're not touching, it's a histogram. If they are touching, it's a bar graph, or vice versa. It's the same thing. Hold on, I'm thinking. All right, let's say we got that, and this is 2, and this is 4, and this is 6, and this is 8. Okay, everybody with me? Well, I want the average. Find the average. And you go through and you add up what this is, 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 and you divide by 5 and you tell me what the average is. But then I ask you to find the average in this case. What is the average? Well, the definition of the average, and this is neat to some of y'all, because I doubt very seriously you know what the definition is. If I take this piece right here, and I chop it off, and I put it right here, and I take this piece, and I chop it off, and I put it right here. Then I take my eraser, and I erase this because I done chopped them off. What have I done? Evened it out. Now, you can't say evened it out in math because it's not sophisticated enough. I'm not talking about you, I'm just saying in general. Okay? It's not even enough. That's not good enough. So you have to call it something else. Well, when you've got a bunch of bar graphs like this, what is this called? When you take what is our data doing? It's going up and down. Again, that's not sophisticated enough, so we got to call it something. Up and down.
That's fluctuation.
Well, actually, it starts with a B. Here, you have a lot of variance. What do you have here? The variance is equal to the same number. There is no variance. It's uniform. And what number represents uniformity? That would be the average. So the definition of the average is the number that represents zero variance or uniformity. The number that represents uniformity. You need to write that down because I guarantee you some of y'all may have taken 120 in high school and you had no idea what the definition was. The only definition you knew was what? You take all the numbers and add them up and divide them by the number of numbers there are. It's the number that represents uniformity or no variance. So if we was to take the average of those, let's say this one was 4, This one was what, 8? This one was what, 2? This one was 2. And this one was what, 4. So 8 plus 2 is 10. And 10 plus, what is that, 4 and 4, 20. Take 20 and divide it by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What do you get? And what is the number that represents uniformity? And that's what the definition of average is. Now, what's variance? Variance is if it's going all over the place, or if it's what? What if variance is equal to 0? Then it's the average. Okay? What if variance is equal to 15.2? Well, in respect to your numbers, look at our variance. What is our numbers? 77 to 96. What is our variance? So there's a little bit of variance in there. It's not 0. But you got to put it in respect to your numbers. It's kind of a measure. Measure here is 0. The measure here is 55. So there is some variance in here because you start off with 77. What if you had 95, 96, 96, 97, 97, 98, 98, 98? The variance would be low. It'd be like a 1.6 or something. Or it'd be low. Okay? So that's what the definition of this guy is. And the definition of this guy. The mid-range, I told you the mid-range is basically the middle point on the number line. The range, I think y'all know what the range is. The range is highest minus lowest. The mode shows up the most. These two guys, that's the middle. Now, a lot of you say, well, what's the difference between the median and the mid-range? Well, the mid-range is for plotting. The middle is numerical. In other words, it has a lot, it's calculated. It has a lot to do with the numbers, the numerical value of these numbers, where mid-range is just for plotting. Okay, so the mid-range is kind of like part of the number line, where the median is not part of the number line, it's part of something else. Okay? Now, what is the standard deviation? This is very important because if anything is on your standardized test, or if you take an employment test, or if you take an entry exam, there's going to be a question on there about two things, and that is the mean and the standard deviation. It's the two most important numbers in statistics. And this is how it works. Just draw a normal curve like that, and draw a big line in the middle and two lines on the left and two lines on the right. Now let's say you go to a mechanic. Let's say your alternator goes out on the car. How do you know the alternator's gone out? Well, if your car is going down the road and all of a sudden it just dies, that means it's been running off the battery and your alternator's gone. Okay? Alternator for a new car probably runs about $89, and then you could get somebody to put it on for about $75 because it only takes a half an hour, but they'll charge an hour. So it would be about $75. So it would be 80, 90, and 80 would be about $150 to $200. Okay? Now, let's say you go to a mechanic and he says, well, I'll do it for $150 plus or minus $50. Now, some of y'all that know anything about the real world, tell me what that means. That means 150 is in the middle. And which way can it go? It can go up. How much? To what? 200, and go back to what? 100. It's called an estimate. And if you carried it out one more, where would it be up here? 250 and what? 50. You've just done standard deviation. What goes in the middle? No. What goes in the middle here with these numbers? This was an example. What goes in the middle? I told you the two most important numbers are the average and the standard deviation. The average is in the middle. I'm going to put 87 because I ain't going to add those decimals. Y'all can add those decimals. I'm not going to do that. And what's the standard deviation? 7. So what's 87 plus 7? And 94 plus 7? 87 minus 7?
87 minus 7.
Yeah. 87 minus 7 is 80. And 80 minus 7 is? And that's what the standard deviation gives you. Now, what does this mean? And this is another standard question on a standardized test. There's a rule, and this rule is called the empirical rule. And I'm going to go ahead and show it to you because I have no idea what some of y'all are going to do in the future. And you'll see this in 120 and 103 also. 34%, 34%, 2.5%, 2.5%, and I think this is 13.5. I always forget it. 13.5. 95% of the population will always fall between two standard deviations. So if you take a test by what we see right here, any test you take is pretty much going to fall between 73 and 100. So you can pretty much say this is a B plus A student. Or being a student, a B student. And that's 12.2 and 12.3 and 12.4. They divided it into two sections. I think the first part goes up to range or mid-range, and the second part talks about the variance and the standard deviation. Now, a while ago, I told you what would happen if you changed all these numbers to, let's say, 97, 97, oops, don't put 987 in there, 98, 98, 98, 99, 99, and 100. Look at the variance. What did the variance do? Went way down. So you know if the variance is close to 0, you know that the median, the midpoint, and the mid-range are going to be close together. And look at them. 98.2, 98, and 98.5. So your data is valid. Now, we've got a standard deviation of 1, so this is going to be 98, 99, 100, 98, 97, 96. So now we're talking about an A plus student. Student that never makes below a 95. All right, let's do a nerd. Let's do one with odd. N is equal to an odd number. N is equal to 7. Let's go with ages. 18. No, let's go with 17. I'm going to put them in order for you. 17, 18, 18, 18, 19, 20. I think that's 7, isn't it? All right, I want you to do as much as you can with those numbers. I hope you do all of it. If y'all doing that, I'm gonna go get my phone and make sure my mother doesn't fall. The reason I want y'all to do this is because this is one of those problems that people forget how to do as soon as they get home. So that's why I want you to try to do it. This will go ahead and write down everybody was here today. And to answer your other question, we probably will finish early. You were asking what we're going to do after we do this. We'll probably finish early because I always finish my college algebra class and this class. I always finish it early. So I think we'll probably be able to quit after what's today? Next Wednesday, we should be finished. And another reason that is I cut out Unit 3 and let y'all work on that on your own. I hope y'all are finished with it by now. Some of y'all are going to wait till the last week to do it. Your computer's going to blow up and all that stuff. Huh? That's not too bad. What gets me are the people that wait to do like 3 sections of homework and 3 tests at the end of the semester. And they end up with an F because it's too late to drop. Huh? I've already put it, I thought I already put it up, but I may have it. I can't remember.
The variance, the denominator is always 8 minus 1.
No, it's going to be n minus 1. So in this case, it'll be 6.
Oh, you said,
7 minus 1 is 6.
I thought you meant in 6.
That's all right.
So they're not planning on tonight.
Say again?
It's loud.
Yeah, and they say I'm loud. What number shows up the most? 18, good. Y'all check your numbers against mine.
So,
Say again?
so,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm confused with my number.
Unless I messed up something, that should be it.
variance and stuff.
I'm sorry, what?
I got the variance and stuff.
You see why? Let me check it, make sure. Variance, wait a minute. B25 minus 1. Yeah. C36. Check, do you have 6.857 for the summation of these?
Around
So what?
it.
Okay, always round at the end, and you always want to carry it at least 3 or 4 digits. and then you round when you get your answer. It's okay if you round to 3 or 4 digits, but don't round to 2 digits or 1 digit. Just remember this, if the directions say to round to the 10th, you want to carry everything to the 100th or the 1000th. And then round at the very end. So my curve would have in the middle 18, and then to the right would have that, and to the right again it would have that, and to the left it would have that number, and that. So 95% of the population of this class right here is going to be between the ages of 16 and 20. What does the variance tell you? Variance low or high? Very low. Then that means the mean, the median, and the mid-range are going to be the same number. 18, 18, 18. All right, who's got a question?